Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Paris, and I'm the self-published author of the Magi trilogy. These two little books right here, The Magi and Illusion of Fear, are my very own, and they are the books 1 and 2 in the trilogy. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about 5 things you might not know about self-publishing, aka 5 things that I didn't realize until I started the self-publishing process. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to be sharing are considered minor when you're looking at the big publishing picture, but they're little details that without them, honestly, some of the things you're doing could fall apart. So, here are 5 things you might not know about self-publishing. Number 1, your ebook, paperback, and hardcover, if you choose to do so, require different files for each of them. This is not something that I realized when I started self-publishing. I assumed that, when you format your book, you upload it to the paperback area and you upload it to the ebook area, and then if you choose hardcover, same thing. That is not the case. They at least on KDP, require completely different files, meaning you need to format twice, and your cover files will be slightly different as well. The paperback takes a PDF. So if you format everything, you convert it to a PDF, you are good to go with your paperback. Same thing with the hardcover. However, hardcover dimensions tend to be a bit different than paperback, meaning if you have, well, let's say for example, a 5x8 for paperback, hardcover books tend to be a little bigger, meaning you'll need to reformat to fit that bigger size for your hardcover. Again, it's a PDF though. Same thing with the covers for paperback and hardcover. They use PDFs ultimately. Again, sizing's a little bit different. You get the gist of the idea. Ebooks are a little bit different. They use JPEG files for the ebook. So you need slightly different for the cover, at least. For the formatting or for the interior of the book, you need an EPUB file. There are some exceptions to that. I'm not super familiar with the ebook formatting. You might be able to have a slightly different file that's not an EPUB, but for the most part, you can't use a PDF, so you need to format twice. The second thing you might not know about self-publishing is actually one of the defining realizations I had that made me decide to do the self-publishing route, and that is that you don't need to carry stock at your house. There are print-on-demand companies now where you can just upload your files, hit publish, and they're going to print it out for you. There is no stock of your book anywhere. Until somebody hits purchase on Amazon, that book doesn't exist. You get the purchase button, Amazon prints it out, ships it out to them, on an individual basis. So there's really no stock of your book everywhere, which means you're not going to have hundreds of books piled at your house, and you're not going to be stressing about needing to ship them out and getting all of your sales, etc. Now, you can carry stock, and I do recommend carrying some stock. I keep about 10 copies of each of my books on hand at all times. So if I ever meet anybody who wants one in person, if somebody orders a signed copy through me, etc., they are available now, so hit me up. Let me know in the comments if you want one. But carrying stock is completely optional. It is not required to self-publish. Number 3 goes off of another big defining feature of self-publishing that actually gets people to do it, is that you get to keep your rights, which, a lot of you probably know that if you're looking up self-publishing. But there's an aspect of that where if you have the rights to your book, it means you can do everything you want with it, meaning you can publish your book on different platforms. If you want to publish your book on KDP and Ingram Spark, you are absolutely allowed to do that. Not only that, but you can actually republish your book too. So if you, publish your book and you love your book, but then you notice some spelling mistakes, you can edit the file and republish it. This is why people do second editions of your books. Maybe you want to add bonus content that you didn't have before. Maybe you want to add just some extra information in the book. You want to add a pronunciation guide that you did not originally have. You can republish your book on any of these platforms at any time. KDP, it's free to do. My understanding of Ingram Spark is there is a cost every time you upload a file. I would do more research for that yourself. I want to say it's $50, but I could be completely wrong, so don't hold me to it. Finally, you can also unpublish your book as well. Meaning if you're like, I don't want this book to be sold on KDP anymore, or this book just really isn't up to par of what I can do now, I want to at least temporarily unpublish it, you can do that. Now, obviously, people who bought your book, you can't just snatch it back from them. But the gist of this is you can unpublish it at any time. It's not permanently for sale. It's not like you hit publish, well, that version of the book, it's there permanently. And actually, one more thing I forgot. Technically speaking, you own the rights to your book, meaning you can switch to traditional publishing at any time. You will likely need to unpublish the book to do so, which is, an important part of the unpublished feature. But if you want to switch to traditional publishing, then you can do that. You can't switch from traditional to self. Maybe there's some exceptions to that in your contract. Maybe you can get something to work, but that's going to be really hard to do, and that's going to be like 1 in a million type of thing. Now, the fourth thing you might not know about self-publishing actually comes down to the pricing of the book. Now, when I was, deciding my price for the Magi, it was kind of stressful. I didn't really know how it works. A brief rundown of how that works is there's a print cost for your book. I think I've talked about this on my channel before. Let's say your print cost is like $5. It's usually cheaper than that. We're just doing it for the sake of argument. Print cost is $5 of the book. KDP is going to tell you, okay, you can sell this book for the minimum of like $6 or $7. They typically have like their minimum be $1 or $2 above the print cost. So, they're getting money too, and then you get money as well. I think it's sometimes a little more actually. It might be like minimum $9 if the print cost is $5. But regardless, it's going to give you a minimum value. Their maximum value is, I want to say, like $200. And unless you're having like a really chunky book, you're not going to be selling it for $200. But with this price, you can change it and edit it at any time. If you decide, I want to raise the price of the book, or I want to do a sale and sell it for, a cheaper price, you can't necessarily decide to do a 20% off on Amazon. Amazon can decide to do that. And if Amazon does it with your book, a little side note, that's not going to affect your cut. That affects their cut. If your book is 20% off, that means they're like giving up some of their cut. Don't worry about losing any of yours. But if you want to do a 20% off, what you can actually do is figure out like what 20% off of the book is and just adjust the price temporarily for the sale and then readjust it after. You're not set on your price. You can up it, you can lower it, you can switch it around, you can experiment with what gets you the best sales. You're not going to want to change it too often because people might get mad if they're like, oh, I bought this book for like $20 and now you're selling it for $9. Be careful with it, but it is an option that you can do. Now, the fifth thing you might not know about self-publishing is kind of, I don't want to say it's discouraging, but it also kind of is, but it's also not necessarily related to every single book you're publishing. So hear me out on this one. If you're publishing a series, for example, a trilogy, it's going to be harder to market your second book than it is for your first book, meaning you should expect to get less sales on your second book than you did on your first book. Now, I know that seems really discouraging, and you're probably like, Paris, why are you telling me that? I'm here for like the good news, not the bad news. Hear me out on this one. The reason for this is, let's say you have 100 people interested in your book, your first book, and these people are like, wow, this book sounds awesome. That's great. If you have 75% of people buy your book, then you have 75 people with a copy of your first book in hand, which is amazing, great, awesome. You're doing great out there. Like, let's keep going. So you've sold 75 copies of your first book. When your second book comes out, your immediate audience of people who are very likely to hit buy on the book day of is now 75 people versus 100 people. Now, those other 25 people might still be interested, but they're more likely going to buy the first book and then the second book, maybe both at once. I'll talk about that again in a second. What I'm saying here is if you have 75 people with your copy of your book in hand, and then let's say another 50 of them buy your second book. Now your audience for your third book is, 50 people. It keeps kind of shrinking down the line. Here is where things get better. This is just because your series is incomplete. People get a little hesitant at times with unfinished series or trilogies, whatever it is, however many books you have. So you might get, they'll buy the first book and then the second book, then the third, so on down the line as you publish more of them, 1, 2, 3 first day sales. They might buy, your second book comes around and they're like, okay, I'm going to give the first book a try. They might bundle. They might bundle with the first and second book, but they're much more likely to do that when you publish the final book. So when your full trilogy is out, that's when you're going to see, your sales are going good, they're going down, they're going back up again. People are more likely to buy the full set than they are for the part. So when you publish your second book, and if you notice you're not getting as many sales, or you're like, okay, why is this not going well? It's not that your book is bad. It's not that people don't care anymore. It's that you're in that awkward phase in the middle of a series where people are like, I don't know if I want to commit to the series before it's finished. Or like, what if something happens and your third book gets delayed and they got to wait longer? Maybe they should just wait until it's all out at once. Or maybe they just don't want to get into a new series right now that's not finished. There's all these little different aspects of it. they're more likely to buy your books again as a set, which will get you more money. You know, when people buy 3 books at once instead of just 1 or 2, it works out. So don't be discouraged if your second book's sales aren't as good. Just take it as like a reminder, be prepared for it. I took that, before I published Illusion of Fear. I knew I might have some trouble with it, and Illusion of Fear has done well. It's, doing good. I'm getting closer to getting my money back that I spent on it. But it didn't get as many sales right away as the Magi, and it's because it's the second book in a series. My audience of who is going to buy it is that much smaller. But I'm not going to be discouraged when the third book comes around. I'm hoping some of y'all will bundle. Alright, that wraps up 5 things you might not know about self-publishing. Now, there is obviously tons of other things I could talk about regarding what you might not know about self-publishing, or just the publishing process in general. So if you want to hear more videos like this one, or you would like to, hear me talk about other aspects of the self-publishing process, definitely let me know in the comments. Actually, I'd appreciate it if you did that. I'm looking for new video ideas, so I would love to kind of cater to whatever it is that you guys are interested in. If it's something slightly different, if it's, maybe some more talking about my books myself, if you want to do more day in the life of writers, more just general writing tips, let me know. Whatever you want to hear, I will be happy to cater to it. Finally, I hope this video helps provide some insight in the self-publishing process. Some of the things I shared are, quote-unquote minor, but they actually have a very big impact on the entire publishing process. Or some of the things, like how I mentioned with the realization that you don't need to carry stock in your house, could actually influence you to make that final decision to choose the self-publishing route. Whatever the case, I hope this video provided some form of knowledge that you did not previously know and helped you in some way. If you have any clarifying questions, definitely, again, let me know in the comments. I will be checking any comments on there, and I will be happy to further explain anything that is needed. For now, thank you for watching this video, and whatever time it is, whether it's morning, evening, or night, have a great day.